Welcome to another Kings of War battle report. Mega Battle! Forces of Nature versus the Trident Realms and Brotherhood. The scenario was Invade. Greetings all. This is a very short battle report. We did a mega battle. We were planning on 6 people attending our game night last night, and it turned out there were 3. So Sean suggested that I play a 3,000 point list against Jeff and his 1,500 point list. So it was pretty easy for me to come up with 1,500 points of Forces of Nature just because I have so many elementals and stuff painted and so much of my Wood Elf army still in the box. I did snag this big orange looking fire elemental that Sean gave me last week in a trade for his Coral Giant. So I put it on the field just to mess with him, really, not because I really like it. But it turned out it did pretty well throughout the game. So what I did on this side, we did kind of, I guess, semi-blind. I don't know how to even describe it. Like a semi-blind deployment. I just didn't look up. I just put everything down and didn't look up. So what I did is I ended up with something fairly symmetrical. I put a Pegasus and one of my Beast of Nature and the Greater Fire Elemental down here on this right flank. Next thing over was some Hunters of the Wild, the Tree Man, some Forest Shamblers, and then yet another unit of Hunters of the Wild. Those are my old Dryads from my Wood Elf army. Toward the left side, and I'm sure I'll have another picture, I have a Greater Earth Elemental and then 2, maybe 3 hordes of Earth Elementals. And lastly, on the far end, I have yet another Pegasus and my other Beast of Nature. So that's how my setup was. As far as strategy, I had none. I was just going to weather the storm. We were playing Invade. I needed to get across the middle. So with my army, I'm pretty sure I was going to have to punch across the middle. But I'm slow, so that meant turn 5 or 6 is going to be important to me. Not these early turns so much. So on Sean's side, he's trying out his new Trident Realm army. The biggest issue I have with them is not the army. It's I can't tell what stuff is yet. I might need a picture guide to tell me don't charge this one in the flank or absolutely charge this one in the flank. So kind of messed me up. I think on this end he had 2 Knuckers and then one of his hordes of something Depth Horrors. And then I think he had the Placoderms, and then I forgot what his characters were. Over in the middle he had another horde of Depth Horrors and 2 troops of Thules. And like I say, I don't know what the character does. I'm pretty sure he inspires. It's back there. So I'm sorry, I don't know what's in this army yet. So it's just going to take me a little bit to get used to identifying it because 1 or 2 of the mistakes I made in this game were against art units I thought were one thing and then turned out to be something else. So I'll learn. I mean, it's my first game against Trident Realms, so I don't know if you know what everything is yet and what everything does. So in the future I'll be ready for it. So on this end, Jeff set up with his villain skirmishers in front of his Order of the Abyssal Hunt. There's actually another knight unit on the table that was not there. My bad. I think I set it in his box and he just set it out. So they went away after everything was said and done. Over in the right there where the knights are is the big rock chucker, and then there was the part of the army that I was actually scared of was the 2 hordes, one of men-at-arms and one of spearmen, and the last one of the paladin foot guard, but just because there was so much unit strength. And behind those was an arbalest that you could pick off my taller units with. So that was the way the battle was set up. After I had the plan, I realized pretty much that those guys, the 2 hordes, could really not hurt my elementals all that much, especially since I had the unicorn there that had healing 8. And many times Jeff got some of my hordes up to 4 or 5 wounds, and I took them right back down with the healing 8 on the unicorn. So that part of my plan, I really like how it kind of changed. That was using the unicorn as a lightning bolt chucker. Now I use it just as a healer, and it's for inspiration. It's an absolutely great support unit. I really like that model, what it does in the game. So this is the start of turn 2. This is the end of my turn 1. I'd moved the fire elemental up from behind the woods so that maybe he could take a fireball shot at somebody. Um, He'd been hiding back there like a girl. Over on the left-hand side, I had moved up the the Beast of Nature and the other Pegasus to try to pin those knights back with their speed there. In the middle, I just kind of shambled everything forward. Probably got a little bit too close to the duels there with my unit of forest shamblers. We'll have to see how that goes, though. So the turn 2 of the Trident Realms and their alliance turned into a tragedy for me. He double charged my unit of forest shamblers, which I'd left on purpose a little further forward. And I thought, well, what's the odds? You know, most of his stuff, those Thules, don't have any crushing, but they have so damn many attacks. They walked in and then through some really good dice rolling, wiped out my forest shamblers, which I was not happy about. Then they backed up, but they both backed up 3 inches to prevent being flank charged. So again, not happy on the forces of nature side of the table. Over on the left, everything was just still kind of pushing forward, but I had to do something about the attack in the middle there of the Trident Realms guys. Over here on the right, I had already just consigned myself to dying. There was just so much stuff there and so many characters that I really thought that I had no chance, that everything was going to be butchered over there, and honestly a quite significant portion of it ends up being butchered. So in my turn, I think this is actually the start of 3, but I didn't take very many pictures this game. My units of Hunters of the Wild were double charged by, I think, the Placoderms and one of the units of, and I will look at the name for you, Depth Wars, and they were definitely in trouble. The Knucker charged into the Greater Fire Elemental, who had done actually 3 wounds in with his fireball shooting, that was pretty fortunate for me. Over in the middle, I had charged both units of my Earth Elementals into those stupid Gigas, and they are damn near impregnable, I have to admit. And that resulted in one of my units of Earth Elementals being flank charged by that horde of Spearmen. So this is 60-something attacks with Bane Chant coming into my Earth Elementals. That wasn't going to turn out well for me. Over on the end, I went ahead and charged the Pegasus into his unit of Villain Skirmishers, and that was just to jam him up, because now he couldn't get his knights past. And I went ahead and moved my little forest swarms, or whatever they're called, around the rock there to try to get a flank charge on anything that moved into that area. A horde of Earth Elementals over there moved up to confront the Men-at-Arms swordsmen. So it wasn't really looking good for the home team at this point in time for the forces of nature. So yeah, here's another picture of the left flank. You can see where the Pegasus is charged into the Villain Skirmishers. Like I said, I do have a trap set for those Men-at-Arms with the unit of Earth Elementals and the unit of Woodland Critters, I think is what they're called. When he charged into it with his unit of, I kind of thought he would charge me into flank. I forgot that he had Bane Chant on his ASB, and that was bad for me. But I knew that if I held that turn, that my elementals that are on right to his would rear charge into that phalanx and destroy it on the next turn. So I was just hoping I could hold out, because if we turned around, I'm pretty sure I was hosed. I mean, I could have probably killed that unit, but it would have taken a long time. So yeah, you can see the phalanx in the flank, and I believe he also, I don't know if he threw Bane Chant. I'm pretty sure he did throw Bane Chant on him, and just did a tremendous amount of wounds. But with my inspirational guys nearby, I was able to hold out against this flank attack and see if I can turn the tide on him. So this is a pivotal turn of the game. You can see that my right flank is essentially gone. So really the only thing over there, I still have my Tree Man, I still have my Forest Warden, I still have one unit of Hunters of the Wild, I still have the Greater Fire Elemental, and he had wiped out the Knucker with really, I mean, I have to say it was a lucky dice roll, because I don't really have that many attacks, but thank God the Knucker doesn't have, I think he does have stealth, and I think I got lucky there. But like I said, my right flank is in tatters, but this turned out to be the most important move that I made of this game. I charged that Pegasus, which is a giant eagle, into that unit of depth horrors and held them there. Then I think Sean charged in one of his depth horror heroes into that melee, into the flank of the thing, and he rolled Snake Eyes to break the eagle, and that just broke the game. Totally bad for the Trident Realm over on this flank, because you can see I had nothing. I mean, I'm fighting Custer's last stand in the middle of the table, so that was a pivotal moment. I did charge the Phalanx and destroy it. I've also, the Gigas died this turn due to the power of the Greater Earth Elemental and the Tree Man. Once I turned him around, then I could turn the Tree Man. Now I'm looking right down to the flank of his depth horrors, and right down the flank of his army with the Hunters of the Wild. So I was now, like I said, you can see I've turned sideways, but now his whole army I'm in his whole army's flank. So that was in a good position right there to be able to do some damage. The mistake I made over on the left flank is that the elementals that I had in the woods, I charged into the front of his paladin foot guys, and because of the way it was, is that when he countercharged, he was going to be in my flank, and I totally boffed that up. I shouldn't have done a thing with him. It wouldn't have mattered. Instead, I'm going to lose a unit because I was stupid. I did send the forest critters into the swordsman, and that was just to keep them from going anywhere. This time, when he snuck up very close with his knights, I was able then to go ahead and shoot the forces of the beast of nature over. And see, now I've got the swordsman stuck up with, and I've got the beast of nature in their flank. So I'm in a good position right here as well. This is a better view. You can see where the Earth Elementals had basically just charged the corner of that unit, and that was because the my other unit of Elementals was in the way, so I clearly couldn't get the full force on them. And so now that's going to result in me getting charged in the flank on the following turn, and I think I died, but I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I died. My other units are, like you say, the ones that were fighting the Gigas, they were all pretty injured. The Greater Earth Elemental was pretty injured. I'm not sure why I did so much damage to him. Maybe it was the Gigas. But the Unicorn there has healing 8, and so he's going to probably do some magical shenanigans and to bring some of those guys back. So I did lose the one horde of Earth Elementals, but the Greater Earth Elemental came in their flank and just, and I think the other unit of Elementals as well, went ahead and came in and cleaned those guys out. So now, really, the only unit strength on the table is his, on this side of the table, is his knights in that unit of swordsmen. And as you can see on the swordsman, my beast of nature is in their flank, and he's going to turn and counterattack, but that's going to open his rear up to the Greater Earth Elemental. So this is kind of one of those lesser of evils things. I mean, really, probably what I would have done is maybe charge the Exemplar Hunter into the Greater Earth Elemental to keep him from just blowing through stuff. But Jeff's a new player, and he probably didn't occur to me. And I was overwhelmed trying to fight 2 battles literally on the table, so I forgot to even remind him. So anyway, I'll make sure to tell him next time. I feel bad about it now that I see it, because I mean, in the heat of the battle last night, I thought maybe he was just using him to block the other elemental horde, when in fact I think either way that unit would have died. Don't get me wrong, it's just that there might have been a better solution, so to speak. Yeah, over here the Snake Eyes totally wrecked the Trident Realm. I was able to charge the depth horrors in the flank with the Tree Man and the Hunters of the Wild. Also turned an elemental horde that had been fighting on I guess against the Gigas, and was starting to come back into the game. The Fire Elemental had charged the other depth horrors in the flank. I don't think it did all that much damage to them, but we'll have to see from here. But yeah, I mean, for right now, the only unit strength over there is that unit of depth horrors. So if I can get rid of them, that's big, because everything else is either 1 or none on unit strength. And weird as it sounds, the Pegasus, who had survived that flank charge, was devastated. moved out of the way, and he will actually go over and claim and push himself over to have unit strength 1 on the other side of the table. So it was truly insult to injury over on this flank when Sean rolled the snake. I mean, the snake eyes just absolutely got him. I have to admit. I mean, I was going to lose so bad, and now I'm just in a brilliant place to throw some retribution on his army. So yeah, over here the swordsmen are gone, killed by the greater earth elemental. He has his unit of questing knights there, or knights where they are, Order of the Abyssal Hunt, in front of my. I've only taken 2 wounds on my unit of elementals, and I believe he just blows right through them. But on the last turn of the game, he just had this blur of great dice rolling at one time. It was awful. The funny thing was he had bad dice rolling with his little unit of villain skirmishers, and so I just flew the Pegasus over to the other side of the table to put some unit strength over there. And yeah, he had unit strength there too, but I just wanted to negate his, so it didn't really matter. But anyway, this is getting right toward the end of the game. I believe I lose the Beast of Nature to the Fireball and to the Ballista. I know that was another great dice roll on the break test for that thing. I was just floored. So anyway, like I said, there was a flurry of great dice, or a turn of dice, I should say, over on this flank that really let the Alliance claw back into it. Over here, the Depth Horrors went in and tried to break my unit of wounded Earth Elementals, and I think they got them up to 5 or 6, but that wasn't going to be enough. And what that did was allowed the greater Fire Elemental to be surged into the rear of that unit since they didn't break, and wiped them out. So now I have the Tree Man and that unit of Hunters of the Wild over there. They move across the table, giving me 4 unit strength right there. And there is no unit strength on this flank of the table at all for the Trident Realm. So they're pretty much out of the game. So everything's going to be settled over on the far side of the table. So yeah, this is another shot of the same thing. This is the last turn. We didn't even roll out the fights and stuff that were going on in this game. You can see the Pegasus running across the table to take that quarter, or that move across to take the point for the invade scenario. So I had the 2 Pegasus across there. I had the Hunters of the Wild and the Tree Man across. So that's 1, 2. I think I had 7. Did I have 7? 6. So I had 6 across on the other side of the table. And the Greater Earth Elemental was over there, but I think if we had rolled another turn, he was probably going to die. But we didn't. And I mean, the thing is the choice would have been to charge him with the Knights over there again, but that would have put the Knights on the wrong side of the table and made it even more lopsided. So in the end, I think they had, I know I had, to see, these are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they had the troop of villains, skirmishers, that was 1, and then the Knights, which was 3, so it's 4. So it's a 7-4 victory for the forces of nature, and a victory that I never should have won, but except for one unlucky dice roll. This game I made a lot of mistakes, but for a rare case for me, some dice actually saved me. Allowing the Thuls to charge into my Shamblers, I just didn't think that they could do enough damage with since I had armor 5, but they do have a lot of attacks, and they hit on 3s, which is one thing is really disconcerting about playing against this Trident Realms army, is the fact that so many of their things hit on 3s, and then they have the ensnare on them, so that makes them really, really hard to take out. But I shouldn't have let them charge it, but my list wasn't optimal. I had just kind of thrown it together at the last minute. If I'd have had some chaff units, just even troops of something, I don't know what else I could have thrown there just to break up those combined charges, which was my bad. For some reason in my mind, I thought my guys, I guess I was trying to keep the armor 5 guys around the Tree Man with the Radiance of Life and the Surge, obviously. So that was part of my plan there. I would have really benefited from having 1 unit of elementals, earth elementals, out here on this flank. would have done a lot better, I think, by having one over here early in the game to hold off some of the onslaught that's there. So one weird thing is I glued that stupid plastic earth elemental on a base right before the game started. It was a joke for Sean because of we always laugh about playing with unpainted models, and I thought, well, heck, I'll just throw it on there so I have one in my army. That stupid thing did fantastic. It killed the Knucker. It charged into the rear and killed, I think he actually killed 2 Knuckers. Then he charged in the rear and killed the depth horrors. So he basically killed the 3 units you see on the right hand side here by himself. It was the stupidest thing ever. On this end, I screwed up the forces of nature, the beast. I charged the placoderms in the flank, and I don't know what I was thinking, because I forgot they were armor 6. But again, that kind of goes back to not knowing what the other opponent's models are, and the fact that he's using some non-standard model, so it's not really easy to pick him out. I knew what the depth horrors were because he had put pictures online. I knew what the Knuckers were, but I guess I didn't know what the placoderms were. So that made a mistake and ended up getting my Beast of Nature killed without him really doing anything except popping a few wounds on the placoderms. The Gigas in the middle held me up quite a bit of time, but then after they broke, I was able to turn all my forces right into the flank of the Brotherhood army over on that side. So that really helped out. I mean, I wiped out the big thing is I wiped out almost all the unit strength on that army, because that's what was really just scaring me. It's like if Sean could break through over here and kill a bunch of my stuff, or keep me from coming across the table, and he could bring that massive unit strength of hordes. I mean, he had just a glance right here. He's got 7, 8, 9, 10 unit strength just in 3 little units there. So I had to stop those guys, and that led me to making some mistakes. I mean, I really think the big mistake over on the left flank was that stupid kind of clip charge into his Paladin foot guards, which got them charged in the flank and killed. But I still think it was kind of a fairly lucky dice roll that did that, because I don't think that unit was that injured, but they may have been. The Beast of Nature over there did a really good job. He put a lot of wounds on that unit of swordsmen in the flank, and plus just distracted from everything else. I think Jeff made some mistakes over on that side, getting jammed up beside the terrain and stuff. And of course, I'm a quasi-veteran player, and I saw that opportunity early on, even though I didn't know I just set up symmetrically, so I didn't really think about this was my plan. It just I looked up and I saw those guys. I'm like, okay, I could probably get in a slap fight with those stupid villain skirmishers, and then that'll block him up from moving everything else behind, all those really nasty knights, because those knights did one-shot one of my earth elemental hordes, which is a very, very hard thing to do if you've ever played against earth elemental hordes. But I think they were slightly wounded, and I think it was a good dice roll. So I mean, but still, I mean, I was kind of stunned by losing them in one go, and I forgot, I guess, because I actually designed that other list. I forgot I'd given them the boots of striding, so they were able to sneak through the woods. I mean, if I'd have been hindered, there's no way they would have took me out. But with the boots of striding, they were easily took out that unit of the game. Earth elementals, as usual, do great. Their armor 6 makes up for my crappy playing. That's all I got to say about it. I mean, I've played this army, and now it's just the whole idea is that sometimes I don't mind if somebody's flank charges those armor 6 guys, because a lot of times they'll hold. And then with my healing 8 on my unicorn, I can just heal them right back up, or pretty much most of them right back up. And then they're still hard to take out on the following turn. And the healing, I know, frustrated Jeff, because he was whacking on one of those units with his catapult and his ballista, and I would heal it almost all the way back on the next turn. So next turn I'd start off with 1 or 2 wounds, and that was it. The Force Shamblers didn't get to do anything this game because they got killed by the Thule, which is my mistake. I mean, I'd have been better off letting one of the units of Hunters of the Wild get charged instead of the Shamblers, because the Shamblers they've got a pretty good strength and stuff, and I had a brew of sharpness on them, so they could have really done well against those Trident Realms units, since they would hit on fours instead of fives. So that would have helped. That would have helped me out a lot. But the Hunters of the Wild hit on threes already, so it was kind of one of those things. Should I hold it or shouldn't I hold it? So I don't know. I mean, I think that probably the Hunters of the Wild did really well this game. I mean, one unit survived, but it was just a grind over on this whole flank over here on the right. Just going to roll it back to show you this. If that stupid Pegasus if he hadn't rolled Snake Eyes against it, he would have ran through the rest of my left flank, I mean my right flank, like it was nothing. The good thing though was busting those Gigas in the middle and be able to turn the Tree Man and the Hunters of the Wild back toward the middle. I could have probably turned even the Greater Earth Elemental, but he had a juicy target up on that hill with those Foot Paladins right in their flank. So, and I didn't really count on this Fire Elemental to do nothing. And he just was just like the star of the show. I may actually have to paint him now, or it might be unlucky to paint him now. But he really did a good job late in the game, because and basically I was just holding him back the whole game because I knew he couldn't take on units from the front, but flank or maybe get a timely shot with his fireball, he was a pretty good thing. Plus he shambles, which is not good in some ways, but when you've got I rolled into there with on those last turns I had shambling a 15. No, I'm sorry. When I finally hit those units, I actually had shambling 12, and I rolled crap on my first die. But then with the Surge 4 on the Forest Guardian, he was able to get the Greater Fire Elemental to the rear of the Depth Horrors and to take them out. So, like I said, this one dice roll, it totally screwed the whole Trident Realms army up, and I'm glad it happened. But I'm kind of interested to see what would have happened if it hadn't done that. So anyway, I mean, the thing is when you're like this, the Trident Realms guys are kind of strung out in a line, and they're not like, they don't have flyers and a lot of cavalry like some of these other armies do. So it makes it a little harder for them to reposition. And anytime that you cuddle up around that Tree Man, he can pretty much handle anything in the game. At least for a few turns until something else comes to his rescue. And with the idea of using Surge, it's pretty easy sometimes to come to the rescue. So anyway, well, thanks for listening to the battle report. Thanks for watching it. I was happy with the outcome of the game. But I realize right now, just looking at that last picture, just how freaking lucky I got. But every once in a while, it's nice to win by luck. Just want to thank you for listening, and until next time, goodbye.